Hello and welcome to Potterwatch from Page to Screen, episode 21. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Lucy.
We're legal now, Lucy. That took a long time.
I was like, actually, I'm still a child. By the time this goes up, I won't be though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I was like, hey. Yeah. Last time, we got all our supplies from Diagon Alley and we flew the Ford Anglia to Hogwarts.
Today we'll be receiving our punishment for flying to Hogwarts and repots and mandrakes. But first, let's take a look into the sorting hat. Today I'll have the random question and Elizabeth's will be... I did that the wrong way around and I didn't say totally random, but it's okay.
You've
doesn't sound right.
Messed up the rhythm of Potterwatch.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here.
Do you need me to provide a question?
No,
Okay.
This time I have got a question.
I only have 3 left.
I still haven't restocked my Harry Potter questions, so I need to do
I've
that
got
before next.
one more Harry Potter
next
question
time.
after this one and 2 random ones.
I've got quite a lot of random ones, but they're kind of boring, so I might redo some of them. Anyway, my question is, what do you think... This is kind of topical to this episode as well.
Okay.
What do you think makes a good teacher?
Oh, okay.
So it can be in the context of like a school teacher, but also just in general.
Okay, yeah.
So for example, I feel like I've talked about my friend Abby before, who taught me chemistry
Yes.
on here.
I'm not sure whether it was on the podcast, but you've definitely told me before.
Could have been. I feel like I talk about her a lot because she like saved my... Anyway, I always think she's such a good teacher because the way she manages to explain things, it doesn't feel like... I don't feel any stupider. You know how sometimes when you're learning stuff, you feel stupider for not knowing it.
Yes, it's
But I
put
just
across
feel
in a
more
condescending
knowledgeable.
way.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel smarter because now I do
Yes.
know it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, oh, you're so dumb, like you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Even though
Before they
sometimes
tell you,
I
it's like, oh, I can't
sometimes-
believe you didn't know that. It's like, but you're
Yeah.
literally teaching me about the subject.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though some of the things that I was learning very late on in chemistry, she could have laughed at me. Like I would have, I wouldn't have judged her for that.
I remember in
Yeah.
primary school, maybe I'll go through like what makes a bad teacher. That's like easier because in primary school, I think part of I'm really rubbish at maths, and I have a somewhat I wouldn't say fear. Fear is too strong. I'm uncomfortable with numbers and arithmetic in general. Makes me uncomfortable. And I think it's because I've never been gifted with it. But when I moved to a new school, we moved when I was just turning 6, and I had to go to a new primary school. And the teacher wasn't really used to the fact that I was rubbish at maths. And I think a couple of weeks in, she got really frustrated with how dim I was being, and she took my hand, and she didn't hurt me, but she quite forcefully like pulled my fingers down, like 1, 2, 3, and it, as I say, it didn't hurt me, but I could tell that she was really frustrated with me, and it made me feel very small. Small is a good way to describe it. So I think, yeah, someone who doesn't expect you to know the thing that you're literally trying to know.
Yeah. No, it's the same kind of thing with maths. I hated maths until I had a really like lovely, understanding, like kind teacher, and then I liked it so much better, and then got so much better at it because I genuinely wanted to learn because I enjoyed it.
I remember I was always put in the middle group because my abilities were kind of middle ground. And right at the end of my GCSEs, just a few months before we took the exam, they a last ditch effort to get me to be good at the exam, they put me in the lowest set. And it just was a completely game changer because now, instead of being the dumbest person in the classroom, I was the smartest person in the classroom. And I suddenly realised that I really loved algebra, for example. I was amazing at algebra.
You know what? I also do really enjoy algebra.
I love it. It just makes sense to me. I don't know why.
Yeah. I feel like I was speaking to someone else about this, one of my friends the other day, because I sometimes help one of my friend's younger siblings. I
Hmm.
sometimes help with maths because my friend isn't the best at maths. So, and I feel
This
like
will be
algebra
you
is
with
one of those
Lucy, like with
things.
Matilda. I'll be like, all right, let me just
Mm.
Skype Lucy because Roman's not at home.
Yeah, I feel like algebra is one of those things that's really hyped up to be really scary and
Yeah,
confusing, but it's one of the
it's
kind of just simplest,
yeah.
most what's the word? Like almost instinctive, like
Uh-huh.
everyone uses
Oh
algebra
yeah,
in everyday life.
automatically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Now
the
we're going
fact
on
that it
a
like
maths rant.
includes letters just made me even more comfortable because it's like, well, I
Right.
can spell and I can write. Well,
Mm.
actually, I'm really bad at spelling, but I'm good at writing. I was always good at
Yeah,
English.
you're not scared of
Yeah,
spelling.
yeah. So yeah, I just kind of
Hmm.
discovered, and the teacher, as you say, the teacher was so kind and like really encouraging. I think I
Mm.
formed like a little bit of a crush on him as well towards the end, just because the experience was so good,
Mm.
made me feel really like fluffy and warm inside.
Mm.
So yeah, someone who is encouraging and
Mm.
non-judgmental. I think we've
Yeah,
got so far.
non-judgmental is a good
I
word.
I really like the ones that that either try to be cool because that's just hilarious
Mm.
and are just nerdy. I don't like the ones where they try to be cool and are like really bad at it. But if they
Yeah.
try and be cool but just end up being really nerdy, I find that kind of cute. I
Yeah.
found it really cute in high school. My geography teacher was like that, and he would come in with like a different like novelty tie each time.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I've told you
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Just kind of like say like, "Oh, I'm a cool teacher, yeah."
Yeah.
But he was just really adorably nerdy.
There's a teacher, I might have mentioned this before, there's a teacher who colour, what's the word?
Color
What's the
coordinated
word?
his
Colour
socks and ties.
coordinates? Yeah,
You've
yeah,
told me
yeah,
about
it
this
was
before.
socks, tie, and
And
turban
turban,
were
oh,
always the
what a
same
legend.
colour.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
amazing,
I really
yeah.
want to see his like
So,
perfectly organized
no,
wardrobe,
I know, I'm like, I wonder if it's like in like vertical
rainbow
stripes of colour with like
order.
turbans along the
Yeah,
top, ties along.
yeah. I don't know, can
So
you
yes, what
do
we're saying
you
is good sense of
in
style
turbans
is
do you
a,
like wrap it around or is it already in that shape?
I imagine it's just like folded in a little
Mm,
pile,
probably.
just like a
Yeah,
scarf.
yeah, probably.
Don't know.
Yeah, and then
So
I
yeah,
like the
so
teachers who are actually cool as well.
yeah,
Like that you can relate to. I remember it was a game changer being in sixth form because you were like, well, I'm
yeah,
almost on the same level as the teachers now.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember one of my teachers like sharing a lot about her life with us, and I really enjoyed that because it put her on the same. She didn't treat us like children. Like
Mm, mm-hmm.
I remember one lesson we were just all quietly doing work, and she was doing something on the computer, and she suddenly leapt up and went, "Yeah!" And we were like, What is it?" And she was like, "I finally paid off my student loan." And it was such a nice moment. Like she was so genuinely like excited and it was kind of scary because she was like 45 and she's only just paid it
Mm,
off. But it was a
mm,
nice moment that she would like share that with us. And
mm-hmm.
she would share loads of things like that with us. So
Yeah,
that as well, I think, like natural being able to naturally relate to people and
yeah,
sharing, not like you don't have to share all your private hopes and dreams and
yeah.
doings, but yeah,
But just like, yeah, it's when I mean, obviously, like you're like not supposed to know teachers' names, but when teachers are very like almost offended
yeah,
when you're like, oh, like ask anything about, like obviously they have a right to like not tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
stuff, but it's nice when they feel more like a person.
Yeah, I like it when you have like nicknames for them and they really take on the nicknames. Like
Yeah.
that teacher that was just talking about, her name was Miss or Mrs. I can't remember whether she was married or whether she had a boyfriend, but like Miss Scanlon, and we called her Scanners. And she loved it. She just got, well, I'm not sure whether she loved it, but she got on board with it.
Right.
And I really like it when teachers do that as well. Like if something starts off as a joke, they don't immediately like, "Oh,
Mm.
you're in detention for joking about me."
Hmm.
It's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, why not? And they just kind of
Yeah,
roll with it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like if you put them in detention, they're gonna do it more.
Yeah,
Whereas if you make it your thing, then at least you're in on the
yeah, I
joke.
mean, that's a hard lesson I learned in high school, is that if you show that you're affected, then the bully is gonna find it really fun.
Mm,
You've got to make it really boring for the
yeah.
people doing the teasing, and the way you do that is by either ignoring them or going along with it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're saying nice, good
Well,
sense of
yeah.
style,
Yeah, I mean,
and um,
Scanners was a goth as well, which was just really cool.
oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Um,
good sense of style.
that's the main one.
Relatable, doesn't treat you like a dumb person or a child.
Yeah. But
Just
also
a
doesn't
good
expect you
person.
to know anything. Yeah, just nice in general, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
Always
on
helps.
on her first day at my primary school, my new headmistress, it was a year into when I'd moved, I think, or a few months, and she came in, and the first sentence she'd said to us is, I really hate children. And I think she was trying to be funny,
Mm.
but we were a bunch of, I was like
Like 8-year-olds.
6 at the time.
Right.
So it's like, what on earth do I say to that? Like, like, how do I respond to that? Like, okay, I'll just grow up then. Like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah,
Mm.
it was really odd, and
That's
she
strange.
genuinely did dislike children. It was quite evident. And
Mm.
it's like, well, why
Mm.
why do you want to be a headmistress of a primary school? Weird. Yeah. So yeah,
Mm.
don't hate the demographic that
Don't
you're
hate children.
that you're teaching. Like, if you're teaching German people how to speak English, make sure you don't hate German people.
I mean, just in general, it's
Yeah.
quite a good tip not to be
Yeah.
xenophobic. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But especially if you're like going to be working with,
if you're going to
yeah,
work with
like,
them, yeah.
don't
It's
go
like
on
if you
a,
hate old people, don't work in an old
yeah,
people's
yeah,
home.
don't go on a suicide
Again, not that you should
hotline
be hating old
for
people.
struggling LGBTQ plus people if you're
Yeah, if you're
homophobic.
homophobic,
It just
it's not a
doesn't
good
work.
match. They don't want that
No.
either.
Although I would really love to see, like, not in real life obviously, because that would be awful, but like
Mm.
to see a conversation between those two people, and the person really struggling with being gay or trans or whatever, and then the other person struggling with their homophobia, and them kind of bringing each other up. That would be interesting.
Mm.
But obviously inappropriate for real life. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a good summary of a good teacher. Nice person, doesn't hate people,
Children.
yeah, children in
They're the
particular,
two
yeah,
main ones.
and treats you like a person.
Mm. So just
The
the
bare
bare
minimum.
minimum for any person, really.
Yeah, just be a friend.
Mm.
Yeah, be a pal. Okay, cool. Shall I do a Harry Potter
Yep,
question?
go for it.
Okay. You can... Okay, this is random. You can choose one of Molly Weasley's housekeeping abilities. What would you pick and why? So she's really good at like all of the household magic. So like
Yeah.
magic with
Does it not have
cooking,
to be something that's mentioned in the book? Can it be something that we
assume.
imagine she probably
Yeah,
has
yeah,
magic for?
that's all
Okay.
right too. It's a bit of a weird question, so
Um,
I'll allow it.
You know what? This is just what has come to the top of my head first, but I really hate hoovering.
Oh, okay.
I always get like really warm and
Yes.
kind of like frustrated and like flustered
Yeah.
whenever I have, especially. Wait, no, hoovering just normally is okay. Hoovering the stairs. There's something
Yes.
about hoovering stairs.
That's
Like
my
when you have
job
to get
on
out the weird little
Wednesdays, and it
nozzle bit,
sucks.
and yeah, I like it. Just really, yeah. I look forward to living in student accommodation where I don't have to hoover stairs anymore.
Yeah.
I just really don't like it.
Just
Yeah.
don't have carpets on your stairs, people. Why? Just have wooden
There's
staircases.
so many crevices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So like, so cleaning the stairs specifically.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what comes to mind. Or maybe like cleaning the windows, because the windows are
Oh yeah,
always
there.
dirty and you can never really clean them properly. You
Yeah.
have to like get people to come and clean them. And I also really hate, sometimes I'll be lying in bed like on my phone and then I'll hear noise and I'll look over and there's like a man at the window with a sponge, and like mum hasn't told me that there are window cleaners coming, and I'm just lying in bed like kind of with this man looking into my
Yeah.
window. So that would be nice to avoid that as
Yeah.
well.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah. I think I would choose sewing or like
Hmm.
knitting or something so I could like
Mm.
fix my clothes really easily or
Yeah,
make
that's a good one.
clothes in
Yeah,
general.
because I can't sew, and I do really want to learn how to sew,
Hmm.
because mum from my aunt got this like a big dress, but it's like a bit too, I don't know if it's too big for her or it just doesn't fit or something, and I really want to cut off the bottom.
Hmm.
It's like quite small floral print on black
Hmm.
fabric, and I really want to cut off the bottom and make it into a wrap skirt, but I can't do that,
Yeah.
so I might have to give it to my friend. So that would be useful
Yeah,
to,
I mean, if
yeah, to
somebody
fix
says
stuff
like,
and.
"Oh, do this and this and this," I would know without them having to show me, but I would never like be able to think of like, "Oh, I need to do
Mhm.
this, this and this."
Mhm.
I would need somebody to tell me. So yeah, if I could just automatically have just, "Oh, magic fix the hem on this skirt, please."
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I was gonna go for
Mm.
cooking originally, but I really like Roman's
I quite
cooking,
like
so
cooking.
I
Yeah, yeah.
hate cooking. But I think like that with magic, magic isn't gonna make it taste any better or anything. And I can already
Mm.
chop. I like chopping vegetables.
Right, you can do it.
Yeah,
Well, I suppose I can hoover the stairs. I just hate doing it.
yeah. Whereas I hate cooking, but I the thing that the magic would help me with, I that's the bit that I don't mind. It's the
Right,
actual
right.
like flavoring and like making it into something enjoyable that I don't like.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably do
Yeah.
sewing.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna stick with hoovering the stairs.
Okay.
Or
You just
just,
want to do
yeah,
like
cleaning the stairs.
hoovering, hoovering in general, so you cover all
Or can I
bases.
do stair cleaning magic?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because I'll go with that one.
Okay, why not?
Although that would be really inconvenient as soon as I
If you like end up
move
living in a
out and don't
flat
have
all your
stairs.
life.
Yeah, as I probably will for a while. But still, if I ever encounter stairs, I'll be prepared and I won't have to hoover them.
Yeah,
So I'm going to go with stairs in general.
yeah. You could be like
Yeah.
you could do a grunt job while you're trying to be a world famous director or art director in a movie, and you can be like, right, I'll clean all of your staircases for the small
Yeah.
price of
Just the stairs, though.
yeah, just the stairs. But it's really useful, I promise.
Yeah. I'll clean them pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I guess we will now see who spots Harry and Ron spying on the sorting. Dun, dun,
Ooh.
dun, who catches them in the act? So, oh, sorry.
Um,
I didn't
so,
realise. That
so
sounds
strange
weird.
phrasing. Someone's been on Wattpad.
Someone's been reading some Rorry.
Yeah.
Is that what it
Hon.
is? I don't know what it is because
I
I've
don't
never
know.
read anything.
I've never thought about what
No.
that. Yeah, I guess Rorry,
Rory?
Rory,
Like, sorry, but with an
some Rory, Rory.
I think that's
Yeah,
appropriate. Like, I'm sorry that this ship
I'm
even
sorry that you're
exists.
reading this. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so last episode, if you can't recall, because it has been a couple of weeks, we left off on a nail-biting cliffhanger. Um, just I've frankly been on the edge of my seat ever since. So as we said in the film, Filch. sees Harry and Ron coming up the stairs. And in the book, can I get a drum roll? It's Snape! Ta-da! Oh
Whoa!
my gosh, what a surprise! So when Harry and Ron are spying on the sorting through a little window, Ron notices that Snape is missing, and he and Harry start to fantasize about why Snape isn't there, and I find this really hilarious. So it says, "Maybe he's ill," said Ron hopefully. Lovely. "Maybe he's left," said Harry, "because he missed out on the Defense Against the Dark Arts job again." "Or he might have been sacked," said Ron enthusiastically. "I mean, everyone hates him." "Or maybe," said a very cold voice right behind them, "he's waiting to hear why you two didn't arrive on the school train." So,
Oh, my genuinely every time, like my worst fear in
oh,
school is that a teacher will hear me like slacking them off.
yeah, yeah. Every time I'm like
Imagine.
say something even remotely negative. I mean, I'm not like bitching about every friend that I have all the time, but like if I say something remotely negative about someone, even if it's like in a place where they would never be, I'm like looking around like, are they here? 'Cause it's like blatantly this is the one time that they will be here,
Yeah.
and not the countless other times that I've said nice things about them. Yeah. But yeah, in this case of Snape, unfortunately, he probably interrupts people slagging him off quite often
That's true.
because he kind of deserves it. He kind of asks for it. So when Filch catches them in the film, he has one of his legendary lines, "Oh dear, we are in trouble," which I think I asked him to. I've met David Bradley. Is that what his name is?
Yeah.
I'll just look it up. Filch actor. Yeah, David Bradley. I've met him. He lives in Stratford, where I used to live, and he used to come to my school fete every so often. And one year he cut the ribbon and he came over to my stall and he sat down in the chair behind my stall for a little while and he let me sit on his knee. It's one of my most treasured possessions, one of my most treasured memories, and I got him to say, "Oh dear, we are in trouble," and he didn't like roll his eyes or anything. He just said it really enthusiastically. It was really nice.
Oh,
I mean, I was like 8 at the time, so
yeah.
and there were not really any adults around. I mean, obviously they were like perusing the situation, making sure everyone was doing what they were told, but you know, it would be weird for him to be angry at an 8-year-old for asking him to say their favourite line. Yeah, anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a ramble.
Topical.
Yeah, I guess so. In the book, Snape makes the point that Ron's dad works in the misuse of Muggle artifacts office, which adds another wave of guilt to Harry and Ron. So it says, "I believe your father works in the misuse of Muggle artifacts office," he said, looking up at Ron and smiling still more nastily. Dear, dear, his own son. Harry felt as though he'd just been walloped in the stomach by one of the mad tree's larger branches. If anyone found out Mr. Weasley had bewitched the car, he hadn't thought of that. No, Harry, you didn't really think of much when making that decision. In the film, Dumbledore and McGonagall just arrive in the room randomly, interrupting Snape as he's saying, "As such." And Dumbledore says, "They are not." But in the book, Snape leaves Harry and Ron in the potions room to go and fetch McGonagall. And it's only McGonagall that he fetches first. It says, if Snape had gone to fetch Professor McGonagall, head of Gryffindor House, they were hardly any better off. She might be fairer than Snape, but she was still extremely strict. Which, I mean, traits of a good teacher. There we go. Firm but fair. You gotta have, I think that warrants
Yeah,
respect
but
straight
not
away.
fear.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, whereas Snape is someone you fear, and so you can't respect them at all. Yeah, I can think of a few high school teachers who I used to think that about. In the film, as usual, McGonagall has very little to say. But of course, in the book, as she is the only one in the room, she does all of the talking and makes a very good point, which every time I read this book, I always forget this. Um, she says, "Why didn't you send us a letter by owl?" Oh, I'm trying to do this Scottish accent and I'm just failing. "I believe you have an owl," Professor McGonagall said coldly to Harry. Harry gaped at her. Now she said it, that seemed the obvious thing to have done. I, I didn't think. That, said Professor McGonagall, is obvious. What a legend! Oh, slay. Then Dumbledore comes in. We get a little teaser of the, in my opinion, frankly, magnificent way Dumbledore deals with conflict. Now, maybe not before, but he's learned his lesson now. Which will actually come into play at the end of book 5, which is easily one of my favourite scenes of all time. But we'll get to that, hopefully, because book 5 is my
Eventually.
favourite. Yeah. It says, there was a long silence, then Dumbledore says, "Please explain why you did this." It would have been better if he had shouted. Harry hated the disappointment in his voice. Yeah, I love that. In the film, they add one of my absolute favourite lines. So in the film, Snape is explaining the laws that Ron and Harry have broken, and Dumbledore interrupts him saying, "I am well aware of our bylaws, Severus, having written quite a few of them myself." It's so satisfying.
It's like I'm a bit of a anti
Yes,
Dumbledore
yeah.
hater, but it's little like quiet moments like that that
Yeah.
are like so like just immediately shuts the person down, but without saying much and
Yeah.
without being angry.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, I am so much better than you in every way, so
Yeah.
you can just stop talking.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think if Dumbledore wasn't the spider tweaking the bits of its web, I would really like his character. But because he has to kind of be that, he immediately puts himself in the hated character zone. It's a bit of an odd situation to be in, but someone's got to do it. But yeah, I don't. Doesn't mean I like him either. I agree with you completely.
He has good moments.
Yeah, he has good moments. Yeah. I also think that the look Richard Harris gives Alan Rickman is just so perfect.
Over
Yeah.
the half moon
Yeah.
spectacles. Yeah.
It's like it always reminds me of that bit in Tangled when um I don't know whether you know the bit that I'm talking about, but it's when Rapunzel is trying to calm Maximus down when Maximus first finds Rapunzel and Eugene, and he's like dripping wet from that big like dam breaking, and he's got the Eugene's boot in his mouth, and he's absolutely furious, and Rapunzel's like, "Calm down," and Pascal is on her head, and he goes with his little hands, and it's like it's just that like, dude, moment. Yeah. In the book, it is Dumbledore and not McGonagall who is the one to say, "Not today, Mr. Weasley." I guess it's Dumbledore's voice in the book, so it's "Not today, Mr. Weasley."
I don't know which one I prefer. I feel like that doesn't particularly matter.
I love it in the film. I think Maggie Smith really delivers it well. I love the accent that she
It's a
uses.
bit more like smug as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's like, oh yeah, my Gryffindor is staying. Like,
yeah,
I
like
won
amused.
Severus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So obviously that happens after Ron like says, "Oh, we're definitely going to be expelled, aren't we?" And so they say, "Not today." So yeah, in the book it's Dumbledore. We have this brilliant description of Snape. Snape looked as though Christmas had been cancelled. I love those little bits. I think there's like a couple of those at the end of book 3 when he realizes that Sirius is free.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Which, yeah. I mean, as much as I hate Snape, that is understandable.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, maybe not to wish death on someone, but
I
I don't
true. I
know.
like, and the Dementor's kiss is worse than death.
Worse.
Yeah. So maybe, but I can see why Snape hates Sirius in particular.
Yeah.
In the book, hang on. Okay. In the book,
Sorry.
I completely lost my place because my cursor is flashing in the wrong place. So I was looking there, and yeah. Um, In the book, McGonagall is about to take away some house points when Harry finds a convenient loophole, and McGonagall just kind of humours him. It says, "And speaking of Gryffindor," Professor McGonagall said sharply, but Harry cut in, "Professor, when we took the car, term hadn't started, so Gryffindor shouldn't really have points taken from it, should it?" He finished, watching her anxiously. I mean, the balls on this kid. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. Man, that Duke, like, that is typical Gryffindor stupid bravery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Professor McGonagall gave him a piercing look, but he was sure she had almost smiled. Her mouth looked less thin, anyway. "I will not be taking points from Gryffindor," she said, and Harry's heart lightened considerably. "But you will both get a detention." Which I don't think that really happens in the film. I don't think they're. Oh, I think she says that they get detention.
Yeah, but you just don't.
You don't get that
You
kind
don't
of.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing with Harry finding the loophole, that's just not in the film at all.
Although is.
And I love that. I love that
Oh,
bit.
no. Hang on. No, this fan mail isn't that detention, is it? That's another.
Fan mail. Oh, with Gilderoy.
Yeah,
No.
is that from another?
Uh,
What was that detention from?
I don't know. Harry does so many stupid things.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
We'll find out, I guess.
We'll get there.
It might be. It might be. Yeah, but yeah, we'll get there, as you say. In the film, Harry and Ron go straight out of the room to who knows where. But in the book, they have a meal of chicken and ham sandwiches and pumpkin juice. I don't know why, but every time they have this meal, I'm like really jealous. I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. I don't know whether it's just the way that she describes like the jug of iced pumpkin juice. Oh, sounds
Is
so
it
good.
chicken sandwiches and ham sandwiches, or is it chicken and ham
I don't
sandwiches?
know, but it says, "Can you believe our luck, though?" said Ron thickly through a mouthful of chicken and ham. So I'm assuming that it's chicken and ham sandwiches. Otherwise, he's like taking mouthfuls of both. Which, I mean, it's
Doubling
Ron and he's hungry, so. But yeah, I mean, for my mum's birthday, I made these sandwiches and I did chicken and ham together. So that's what I assume is the right one. Potterwatch, answering your really important questions. We're here for all of your sandwich-related inquiries. So here, Ron shows bits of his very wise thinking, which obviously is usually missed in the film. Harry says, "Wish we could have gone up to the feast." "She didn't want us showing off," says Ron sagely. "Doesn't want people to think it's clever arriving by flying car." Which, I mean, he's like 12 at this point. 13, 12? 12.
Yeah.
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 So I think that shows quite a good, quite a maturity in Ron.
Yeah.
There's actually for the film, there's actually a deleted scene from when they exit the potions room. Later on in the book, Harry finds out that Filch is a squib, which is someone who was born of two magical parents but shows either little to no magical ability. And he finds this out by reading an advertisement for a course called Quick Spell, which he finds on Filch's desk. I think because he's like in there because he comes in all muddy from a Quidditch practice, and Filch is really angry at him or something. So he brings him into his office and he sees this Quick Spell advert on his desk. Whereas in the deleted scene, it happens now and not later on, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
talking about it.
It's for context as well, the
Mm.
quick spell course, it's like
Oh
a
yeah.
course for squibs to learn magic. That's the idea,
Learn
even though that is
simple tricks.
kind of impossible.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's like to know how to make it seem like you're doing
Do you
magic.
think you do? Do you think they do like Muggle card tricks
Yeah,
and stuff?
I don't know. Weird. So in the deleted scene, when they're filing out of the potions room, Harry picks up a letter from the floor saying like, "Oh, quick spell," and it has like little bits of writing on it about quick spell. And after he's had a nice long look of it, he gives it back to Filch, like, "Oh, you must have dropped this." And the scene ends with like a full like 5 or 10 seconds just
Yeah.
on Filch looking really, I don't know, down, I guess.
Embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna compare it to the book now, even though it's not like canonically part of the film.
Right.
But comparing it to that scene in the book, Harry hides the fact that he's seen the quick spell letter. He's not so obvious about it, but Filch kind of. I think it's implied that Filch knows that he's seen it because he doesn't put
Yeah,
it
I think
back
he sees that
exactly.
it's like moved
Yeah,
and it's like a bit out of the envelope,
yeah,
and he like goes mad, doesn't he?
yeah. And
Like he yells
then
him out of the
a
office.
go was it Nearly Headless Nick that saves Harry's bacon by causing a ruckus upstairs.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
And
Yeah, like convinces Peeves to go and
yeah,
undo the chandeliers or
yeah,
something,
yeah, something
or
like
the
that.
candelabras.
Yeah. So after they're told off, I guess, by Snape, McGonagall, and Dumbledore in the film, it skips Harry and Ron returning to the Gryffindor common room, which is a real shame because it's a really hilarious part of the book. So it says, "Brilliant!" yelled Lee Jordan. Inspired! What an entrance! Flying a car right into the Whomping Willow. People will be talking about that one for years." "Good on you," said a fifth year Harry had never spoken to. Someone was patting him on the back as though he'd just won a marathon. Fred and George pushed their way to the front of the crowd and said together, "Why couldn't you have called us back, eh?" Ron was scarlet in the face, grinning embarrassedly. But Harry could see one person who didn't look happy at all. Percy was visible over the heads of some excited first years, and he seemed to be trying to get near enough to start telling them off. And so because of this, like, Harry nudges Ron and he is like, "Oh, look at Percy over there, he's gonna be a right party pooper," and they go up to bed. And as usual, the chapter ends. I was like, is Lucy gonna get it?
I thought you were taking a break, and then I realised you were done.
But yeah, as usual, the end of the chapter is an absolute cracker. It says, "Ron grinned guiltily at Harry. I know I shouldn't have enjoyed that or anything, but..." The dormitory door flew open, and in came the other second-year Gryffindor boys, Seamus Finnegan, Dean Thomas, and Neville Longbottom. "Unbelievable!" beamed Seamus. "Cool," said Dean. "Amazing!" said Neville, awestruck. Harry couldn't help it. He grinned too.
I like a lot of the in the film and in the books. I like the little bits of the like of the boys in the dormitory that you
Yeah,
get.
same. Yeah, I
It's
like
fun.
their little like fivesome. Like I like their little group. Yeah, it's a good little group.
Yeah.
All right, well, over to you, Lucy, for some Mandrake repotting.
Ooh, thank you very much. Well, before we get to that, we are going to be hearing the dulcet tones of Mrs. Weasley.
Ah, you spoil sport.
Yeah, of course. In both the book and the film, we have the Howler from Mrs. Weasley. This happens after Mandrake potting at lunchtime in the film, but in the book it happens at breakfast before the Mandrakes. It's Errol who delivers the Howler in the book and in the film. In the film, he falls into a bowl of crisps, and in the book, he falls into Hermione's jug, spraying them all with milk and feathers. I have a fun fact. It's not
Okay.
very fun or much of a fact, but I saw an interview with James and Oliver Phelps, who play Fred and George. And have you ever noticed in this bit of the film, one of the twins, I don't know which one it is, like has his face kind of on the table? Well, it looks like he's like ducking from Errol.
No, I've never
Okay,
noticed
you
that.
need to, next time you watch it, you need to look out. He's like
Yeah.
his head is like down on the table, and I
Okay.
always thought like, oh, he's like ducking from Errol, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I saw a like a little clip from an interview where whichever of the twins it was, I don't remember, was saying that actually they had to keep filming this scene so many times. And because they had to like clear up afterwards, like clear up all the crisps, it was just like getting really tedious, and they were doing it so many times. So he was just like, I don't know, he was just like hanging his head and like putting his head on the table, and then that was the take that they used.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's my fun fact.
I like that fun fact. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny that.
Yeah.
Well, I always just assumed he was ducking, but he
Yeah.
was just bored.
He's just really bored. Yeah.
Yeah, which I have heard a lot of stories about the Phelps twins and like what they got up to
That they're
behind the
like
scenes.
Fred and
Apparently, well, yeah,
George.
because there's that fact that is one of the kind of well-known ones about them swapping on set, and then they had to just reshoot loads of the first movie because they
Oh
kept
really? I
swapping
didn't
places.
know that.
Yeah. Also, the Phelps twins and Rupert Grint, who plays Ron, I think when they were filming the last film, maybe, or like the seventh film, like came back to the studio at night and rode their bikes around all the sets and the sound stages and stuff in the middle of the night,
That's cool.
which is quite funny. I think there are some
Yeah.
videos or photos or something of them like on their bikes. But yeah, there's my kind of underwhelming fun fact for
It's
the
not
for
underwhelming
the
at all.
episode.
I found it very
Thank you.
fun.
Very fun. I do. My dad has told me that I very frequently will say "fun fact" and then give a fact that is
Not so
fun. No.
Well, I mean, I mean, there's not really a very high bar with me. I just really like anything that I love, like behind the scenes of movies stuff.
Yeah, me
I would
too.
love to work on movies, just so I can see the little bits and bobs that
Yeah.
things happen. Like
Yeah.
like I've seen so often on TikTok, like the bit in Lord of the Rings when Aragorn kicks the helmet,
Yeah.
and people like jokingly filming themselves like, I need, like, I'm sweating, like I
Yeah,
can't
I need
I
to say
can't
it, I
say
need
the
to say it.
trivia.
Yeah.
But nobody ever says the piece of trivia about him actually defending himself from an actual knife.
Yeah, to be fair, I was talking to someone about Lord of the Rings ages ago, and he was like, "Did you know that he actually blocked the knife with the sword?" I was like, "Yeah, I did actually."
Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah.
Get ahead of the program.
I'm not a fake fan. For goodness sake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen loads of videos of him on set, like fishing in between takes.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah.
Weird.
Anyway, so
cool.
when Ron receives this howler from
yeah.
his
Harry
mum,
Potter.
back to what we're talking about. Neville's warning about not waiting to open it is the same in the book as it is in the film, and then it begins. So in the book, it's not the full transcript, if you like. It's kind of interrupted with what's going on around Harry and how people are reacting. But I'll just read what it does have in the book. It says, "Stealing the car, I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd expelled you. You wait till I get hold of you. I don't suppose you stopped to think what your father and I went through when we saw it had gone. Letter from Dumbledore last night. I thought your father would die of shame. We didn't bring you up to behave like this. You and Harry could have both died. Absolutely disgusted. Your father's facing an inquiry at work, and it's entirely your fault. And if you put another toe out of line, we'll bring you straight back home."
It really annoys me reading it because I'm like, no, it's just, we'll bring you straight home.
And also, your father's facing an inquiry at work instead of, your father's now facing an inquiry at work.
Oh, is it now?
I think so.
Oh, huh. I thought that was the same.
Maybe when I was reading that, it felt really
Oh, okay.
wrong. So I don't know.
Well, you're the Chamber of Secrets expert, so
I am.
I'll
I
go with
am.
you on that one.
Also, and if you put another toe, obviously it's just if you put another toe.
Yeah, she kind of pauses.
Yeah.
It's
And
entirely
also,
your fault.
the film adds the line about
Oh, and Ginny dear.
Congratulations on making Gryffindor.
Oh yeah,
Your
I forgot to
father
write
and I
that
are
down.
so proud.
Yeah, it's really weird. 'Cause
which
it's
is
like, well, that's not like a howler is for
Yeah.
angry things.
Yeah, but
Makes
it's really
no
funny. I
sense.
really
It
like
is,
that.
yeah.
that
It's
bit
like
at the
this
end.
kind of weird, embarrassing, underwhelming like end.
Yeah.
And Ginny,
Yeah.
like Bonnie Wright's acting here is priceless as well. Like,
Yeah, it's really cute. It's...
Mum, I'm trying to make friends. This is my first
Yeah.
time.
It's really good.
I'm literally in the coolest, like the what am I trying to say? The jockiest house of them all.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's very, very similar book to film, and you have that added line that I really like. So yeah, not much of a change in terms of general gist.
Yeah.
Although in the book we get a little insight into how Harry feels after all of this commotion. It says, Harry pushed his porridge away. His insides were burning with guilt. Mr. Weasley was facing an inquiry at work. After all Mr. and Mrs. Weasley had done for him over the summer. This makes me feel really sad as well, because like Mrs. Weasley obviously wasn't intending to make Harry feel like this, and like obviously
No, she
it
wanted
wasn't
to tell off
intended
her
for him.
son. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not her place to tell off Harry either, even
No.
if she wanted to, but obviously
No.
she didn't want to.
No.
Um,
And it's also,
yeah.
it's really adorable how his first thought wasn't like, oh, that's embarrassing, like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
it
It
was,
was like,
gosh.
oh, I hope they're okay. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's very wholesome.
Yeah.
Very sweet. As we said last time, the films miss out a big chunk of the second book, which is all of Lockhart's lectures to Harry throughout the second book. And we get to witness one of them just before going to homology. So this spans over a page, pretty much. What I'm just going to do is read the bits that is Gilderoy Lockhart talking.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Rather
yeah.
than all the
Bits
not
where
stage
Harry is
directions, 'cause it's a
reacting.
book, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, or where it's talking about what's going on, and
Right.
so clear my throat. He says, Harry, I've been wanting a word. You don't mind if he's a couple of minutes late, do you, Professor Sprout? That's the ticket. Harry. Harry. When I heard, well, of course, it was all my fault. Could have kicked myself. Don't know when I've been more shocked. Flying a car to Hogwarts. Well, of course, I knew at once why you'd done it. Stood out a mile. Harry. Gave you a taste for publicity, didn't I? Gave you the bug. You got onto the front page of the paper with me and you couldn't wait to do it again. Oh, no, Professor, see, Harry. I understand. Natural to want a bit more once you've had the first taste. And I blame myself for giving you that. Because it was bound to go to your head. But see here, young man, you can't start flying cars to try and get yourself noticed. Just calm down, alright? Plenty of time for all that when you're older. Yes, I know what you're thinking. It's alright for him. He's an internationally famous wizard already. But when I was 12, I was just as much of a nobody as you are now. In fact, I'd say I was even more of a nobody.
Oh, really?
A few people have heard of you, haven't they? All that business with he who must not be named. I know. It's not quite as good as winning Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award 5 times in a row, as I have. But it's a start, Harry. It's a start. He gave Harry a hearty wink and strode off.
I do just want to read one little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was remarkable how he could show every one of those brilliant teeth even when he wasn't talking.
Well, Witch Weekly know what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
not the biggest smile award, it's the most
mm,
charming.
yeah, I love I love the line about it's all right for him. He's an internationally famous wizard
Yeah.
already.
I was
When I was
just as
12, I
much
was
of
just as much of a nobody
yeah.
as you are now.
Perhaps
Yeah,
even more of a nobody.
yeah,
Wow, really?
yeah.
Really?
It's
You mean you didn't kill the world's most, like, well, you didn't defeat the darkest wizard of all time when you were one?
yeah, and
Whoa.
end a war.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
You mean there's not like children's books written about you?
it's no, it's hilarious how like completely genuinely self-absorbed
Uh-huh.
he is. Like he truly believes every word
Yeah.
he's saying.
Yeah. He totally, yeah, it's kind of childish in a
Mm,
way. Like
hmm.
you can't really. I used to hate Gilderoy, and I used to hate reading
I love him.
yeah, all
Yeah,
of
no,
these
he's so
lectures. But he,
frustrating.
because he's so naive about it,
Mm.
it's kind of charming in a way.
Yeah, yeah, no. Especially when, like, I think I've said before about the fifth book. Like, it's this kind of
Yeah,
innocence, like
yeah.
obliviousness,
Mm-hmm.
that is just absolutely hysterical.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he
Um,
definitely suffers from narcissism,
mhm,
which some people walk into willingly, but some people
mm,
just kind of have it without meaning to have it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, Elizabeth also counted how many times he says Harry's name because as you know, it's quite a few, and it's 12 times
I
in.
thought it would be more, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of threes.
Yeah, rule of
Harry,
three.
Harry, Harry.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what
yeah.
like the significance of that is, because like there's like that's like in I remember it from school. It's one of the like literary devices used in
Uh-huh.
speech writing
Uh-huh.
is the rule of three.
Mm.
But but Gilderoy is just doing it. I don't know why he's repeating Harry's name so
I
much.
do. It's
It's just
yeah, I don't
weird.
know. It makes him sound like a kind of like wise old like
Oh, I guess so.
Harry, Harry, Harry. You know.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
poor unfortunate soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Like oh how yeah. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Um, and then finally we are at the Mandrake repotting.
Woohoo!
So we'll just make a quick comparison between what the mandrakes look like.
Mhm.
In the book, it says, instead of roots, a small, muddy, and extremely ugly baby popped out of the earth. The leaves were growing right out of its head, his head. He had pale green mottled skin and was clearly bawling at the top of his lungs. Obviously, Harry can't hear because he's wearing his earmuffs. I mean, the main difference is just the colour. In the book, it says
Yeah.
he's pale green, mottled, and in the film, they're just like brown, gross,
It's
rooty
like a
looking.
root. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I think
actually
it makes more
prefer that.
sense in the film.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I really like Jim Kay's illustration
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
book. He does a really good job.
Yeah,
I love
I
the
agree.
shapes that he creates with the roots, like making it look
Yeah,
like a body.
yeah. It's more of a like natural kind of
Hmm.
looking. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
cool.
whereas
A
this,
lot of the
it's like it makes me think that they have like fingers and toes
mm,
and stuff.
yeah, which is kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I can see that. Like imagining it is disturbing enough, but having exactly that on film, I can see why
Mm.
they wouldn't want to make something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Mandrakes as well. I'm sure a lot of people know this, but mandrakes are
Mandrake
like a
or
real thing.
Mandragora.
Well,
Yeah,
not a real thing, but they are a real plant
yeah,
that is used in medicine, right? Or
hmm
historically was used
yeah,
in
yeah. I'm not
medicine.
sure whether it is anymore, but yeah, it was
Yeah, I
used in.
imagine. Well, maybe it's some kind of like natural things, but yeah, it was
Yeah, I
it's used a
remember
lot.
for my mum's 50th birthday, I did her like a Harry Potter day, and I asked some of her friends and my brother to do like little lessons, and one of her friends did a herbology lesson because she's really into plants.
Mhm.
And she was saying that as well. She was like, oh, mandrakes are genuinely really useful for healing, apparently,
Mm.
and they're a real thing, etc. She didn't have any. I think they're quite rare. I don't know.
Yeah.
We used potatoes that went really wrinkly with time.
What did you call yours?
Bertie.
Mm-hmm.
I think I
Yeah.
called mine Bertie.
I
Yeah.
remember that really just made me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think even though they're not accurate at all,
They're
I
better.
really I think, yeah,
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
And if anything, they're probably more accurate to the real mandrakes.
Yeah, what it probably would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I mean, it is magic, but it seems just way too over the top to have like just a baby with leaves
yeah.
out of the head.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Right. In the book, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are standing together, and they're joined by Justin Finch Fletchley for the Mandrake repotting, who's not mentioned that much in the films. In the book, he's known for constantly talking about. He's mainly talking about studies, and he just talks a lot. He's a bit annoying and obnoxious. He's a Hufflepuff. The only time I think they mention Justin, or that you see Justin, is when Harry like he doesn't set the
Yeah,
snake
and
on
he's
him,
like,
but the snake
"What
is,
do you think you're
"What are you
playing at?"
Yeah. If I hadn't stopped that snake from attacking Justin. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I think that's the only time they say the name. As far as I can remember, that's the only time the name Justin is mentioned in the whole film
Which is a
series.
shame because I really like him as like a reoccurring oh, it's exam time, where's Justin?
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, where's Justin talking about his like extensive revision tactics?
Yeah, because it's like in the film and in the book still, Hermione's kind of that person, but Hermione just like wants to do well, but Justin is just like,
He
I feel
wants
like in
to
my mind
revise
you have
lots
the
to
Hermione,
show off that he's revising.
you have the Hermione at school who is just working very hard, and you have the Justin who like needs to make sure everybody else. Well, they're the kind of people who will be like, oh, I haven't revised, I haven't done any work, and then they pull out their binder full of like flashcards for every single lesson.
Notes.
And yeah, exactly. And he's a bit of Hufflepuff representation, so
Yeah.
it's a shame.
It's not a very good Hufflepuff representation.
No, that's true.
I mean, he's meant to be like really friendly and really, kind and all that. But he's just comes off as slightly obnoxious. But I guess he is like, he always stands by Harry, apart from in this book where he's just a bit scared. But I think that's understandable. But usually he's one of the ones who's noticeably standing by Harry.
Is he mentioned at the Battle of Hogwarts?
I'm not sure, but I remember in like book 5 when everyone's like, he and Luna, they're I think the only two people who are like, I think he says like, just so you know, Potter, I stand by you and whatever. So I guess he is loyal and hardworking.
Yeah.
But I
He's
just wish he didn't
obnoxious
talk
and annoying
about it.
Yeah.
Like, look at how friendly and hardworking I am.
Yeah.
Please notice me.
Well, I suppose if you value hard work, then you want everyone to know how hard you're working.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's like if you have a passion about something, that's going to be the main thing that you talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Well, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So just a quick glance at the Marauders map. Actually, you know what? I mean, I'll tell you more about this when we stop recording. But my art book at the moment is looking like the Marauders map because I'm
cool.
like reinserting pages and like flaps, and
I love a good flap.
Yeah, and you have to like open them in a specific order it's really difficult to navigate. It's quite funny. But yeah, just a quick little look at the Marauders map. So this is in the films when Harry and Ron go to Snape's office. I believe it's the first time we see the potions office. Is that correct? We don't see it in the first one, do we?
Yeah, I think that's
it's just
right.
The potions classroom.
Yeah, and then Yeah.
And I think it's the one with like the big arches and all the big
With
bottles
the
of stuff
ancient
and the
runes
jars.
on the
Yeah, and the
arches.
runes. I think maybe at this point it might be a location
Oh, okay.
that has been like set dressed, obviously.
Right, yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. If it is, it will probably be Durham Cathedral or possibly Gloucestershire. Gloucester Cathedral. Maybe
Okay.
Lakewood Abbey. If it is, it's probably Durham Cathedral. Or it's a set. It definitely later becomes a set if it's
Right.
a location now, because obviously, like we've seen the set.
Yeah.
And it's also his office later becomes the potions room in
I
the
didn't
later
know that it
films.
was like, I thought that this was just that he wasn't like taking them to his office. I thought he took them to the potions room. I didn't realize that it was meant to be his
His
office in this
office.
film.
Yeah, see, I was also unsure about that, but looking at the scene, it's like his desk and bottles and like
Oh,
things.
right.
I
Yeah,
don't
okay.
think
You
it's
can't really
big
see
enough
any. Yeah,
for it
yeah,
to, there aren't any desks.
yeah. That's
Um,
true. That's true. Good
and
point.
yeah, so
I love that. That's one of my favorite sets of the studio
mhm,
tour,
yeah,
with all of
too.
the potions lit up and stirring
Yeah,
themselves. It's
it's pretty
lovely.
cool.
If anyone goes to the studio tour and sees that, and if they see an employee of the studio tour, make sure you ask them to grab some jars and bottles from the set and show you a close up.
Yeah, that is a lot of it is like toys, like doll parts and stuff that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
rip up. Yeah, that's a. I mean, just in general, the studio tour, like, ask them if you can like have
yeah,
a closer look at some of the
yeah.
props, or just
Especially
ask
if you can
them.
see like white gloves poking out of their pockets, it
Yeah,
means that they are able to touch things that are on the
yeah,
sets.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
they're very good at not hammering you about like, oh, can I help you with something?
yeah,
But at the
yeah.
same time, I think a lot of
They're
people
eager
miss,
to.
um,
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of people miss some extra content, I guess.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
good for people like us as well who have seen a lot of the stuff
yeah,
many
yeah.
times. Like, we can always ask people. Like, I think next time we'll just go up to everyone and be like, "Is there anything you can show us?"
Yeah.
Just to
I
see
still
as
feel
much as
really bad
possible.
about blurting out about that employee
Oh,
who showed us the letters, and she was like, I'm not really supposed to show you this. And then she was like, don't tell anyone, and I blurted it out. I can say it now because she doesn't work there anymore,
yeah.
and I'm not saying her name, but I blurted it out to another person because they were like, oh, have you been enjoying your time? And I'm like, yeah, so and so showed us these letters, and I was like, I mean,
And
but
then
I
did
mean,
we go? We went the next time, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she got fired."
yeah, or
um,
something, and then they were like, only joking, haha, lol, she left or something like that.
I swear she did get
Or
fired.
did she get
And
fired?
I think they were like, "Oh yeah, it wasn't anything big. There was just an incident or something."
Yeah, oh
Um,
gosh,
but
I thought
I'm
they,
pretty sure it wouldn't have been that.
yeah,
There would have been
she wouldn't
something.
have. I don't think she would have gotten those. Or maybe she would have. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, that
It's
all
great.
everyone that works there is very, like, they all seem to really like talking
Yeah,
about
I
all
mean,
the
and
stuff.
if he's still working there, one of them has been an extra on Harry
Oh
Potter.
yeah,
He was a Death Eater extra. So yeah, you might
your
see.
mum asked to touch him.
Yeah. She asked to touch his shoulder, and he got really weirded out. Justifiably, I think.
Yeah,
Justifiably. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, talk to the what are they called? Knowledge masters.
No, well, there are levels.
There are levels, yeah.
What's the word for?
Knowledge
I can't
master
remember what they're
is
called.
that
There's a
you've read
word
all
for
of the
the.
books and you've watched all of the films.
There's a word for the people though. They're called like not in like interactors or something. There's a word for
Oh, is
the
that?
people who work talking to
Yeah.
people. I can't remember what it is.
I think it might be
Um,
interactors, you know.
yeah, something like that.
Something like
But
that.
just the people wandering around, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not just there to do nothing. Speak to them.
Mm,
Got interesting things to say and show.
yeah.
Show and tell. Okay, so I guess that concludes this episode of Potterwatch from page to screen.
Keep twiddling those dials. Keep each other safe. Keep faith. Good
Good
night.
night. Reach for the book. Stretch those earphones loosely. Reach for
Just
the
about.
book.
Just about.
Did you like my accompaniment?
Yeah, that was really great. I think I should write the full cover. Ow.
Yeah. So yeah, now no. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. The visions are softly sinking. And the visions still remain, still the same. This is the sound of silence. Do 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 do. Cool.